Rescue the Fosters is about changing the foster system. We want to ensure every child has a safe environment to grow and become healthy, successful adults.
Additionally, when I was in the foster care system, I had to defend for myself. Rescue the Foster is here to empower the youth aging out of the system and offer resources to ensure they are not dependent on the government.
What we observed was that children become institutionalized and end up in prison and providing the government with more
that they
funds.
don't want you to take
Rescue the Foster will provide coaching, resume writing, interview skills, professional attire for interviews, budgeting, applying for college, and obtaining housing.
We want these youth to live the most free, successful life possible.
It is their right and our responsibility to ensure that our future kids and grandchildren can live happy lives.
Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord.
Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future.
Good evening and welcome to Rescue the Fosters. I am Gino, your host, and with me, as always, the co-founders and co-hosts of Rescue the Fosters, Miss Sylvia Beachy and Miss KK Emmett. Ladies, how are you this evening?
I'm doing good, Gino. How are you?
Good. KK, how about you?
Tired.
Yeah, Sylvia looks like a zombie. She said that
That's
before we
not
started.
very nice.
She said it before we started, so I thought
We weren't live.
Sorry.
That was not nice.
She does not look like a zombie. She was the one that actually said it, though. I would never say anything so mean.
Hey, you know what?
Jared,
You just
don't
did.
laugh. It's not funny.
Maybe because she be mean to you, so now you're being mean to her.
Yeah, if you guys would have saw me when I was in Georgia, I was apparently the worst driver in Georgia.
Oh, he's definitely the worst driver in Georgia.
I disagree, but okay, we'll go with it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us in Rescue the Fosters tonight. We have returning guest Jared Bass coming with some good news. Finally, we have some good news. It does seem like we report a lot of bad news on the show because these people are so wicked and evil. We have to, and we're exposing them for what they are. So, but without further ado, Jared and Megan were living every parent's nightmare. North Carolina DSS had deemed Jared. Sorry, I'm going to put my glasses on because there's no way I'm going to be able to read this. Sorry. North Carolina DSS had deemed Jared a child abuser, and they refused to do the medical test necessary to exonerate him. His daughter was taken from his home in April of 2022 and placed with his wife, Megan's estranged sister, for kinship placement. Jared has now been exonerated of all charges and awaits the return of his daughter, Lexi. Jared, welcome back to Rescue the Fosters, my friend. How are you?
Thank you. Very good, very good. How are y'all this evening?
Good. It's good to have you back.
Yes, I am very excited to be back. And as you can hear, I don't think he was quite one actually last time I was on. You'll hear Mason, my oldest son, not my oldest child, but my oldest son in the background. He's a wild 2-year-old now.
Yeah, man, you've got a lot going on, a lot on your hands, but a lot of good news incoming. We are speaking this into life, that your daughter will soon be home and where she rightfully belongs with her two biological parents. So, Jared, let's just give a brief overview of the past, how it all started back in 2022.
2022, the nightmare began. 6-month-old Lexi was taken to the ER with, let's back up a little bit too, just so we know where the medical stuff started. She was born with laryngomalacia, which is a floppy voice box. So right there from the get-go, right after birth, she was having to have thickened liquids in her formula. She would aspirate if not on just regular old formula. So she was essentially having to drink oatmeal through a straw, if you will, or a thick shake with a tiny little straw, the tiny little straws they give you. But the nightmare began shortly thereafter, around about 3 or 4 months old, actually. She got the best way to describe it is a hickey under her tongue. and started out about the size of, my pinky. So, I mean, in her mouth, it was the size of a dime probably. And it grew. It's like almost like a hickey, if you will. So we took her to the ER because it was causing more feeding issues than she already had. And it wasn't even, we hadn't even been at the ER there at Atrium Health now, used to be Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center. And there was a non-pediatric ER, I guess ER physician that was down there. First thing out of his mouth was that was abuse. Somebody shoved something in this child's mouth and caused this injury. And that's where the nightmare began. CPS was contacted, and if you've been on here and heard parts of my story, that's where it all went downhill. From there, they accused me of not only abuse with that under her tongue, but also breaking of ribs and a fractured humerus of her left arm.
Terrible. I forgot that was actually a Baptist hospital at one point.
Yep, it was Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center, and then they switched over to Atrium, and part of that was, of course, we've been involved with Brenner Children's Hospital, which is their children's hospital there in Atrium, and that's where Lexi got a lot of her care throughout the process of all these so-called abuse injuries.
Yeah, you would think a hospital titled Baptist at one point would seek the truth. Jared, I hate to, as a believer, we're all believers on this screen. We all believe Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior. But I got to tell you, the church has a real big problem with this issue. And we're going to expose it wherever it goes. And the truth needs to be told that these so-called Christian hospitals are doing the same thing that the secular hospitals are doing, which is stealing children. So, I think that was an important point you made.
Thank you. Yeah, and just the side subject, bringing up that, it kind of a light bulb. Megan would probably know better. She actually used to work for Baptist when she was a CNA. They used to have a cross in the nativity scene during Christmas and all that. And now you will not see that one bit. That has been taken down, I want to say, within the last 4 or 5 years.
Is there a Cracker Barrel?
Around the time that it became Atrium.
Is there a Cracker Barrel nearby?
Boy, let's not bring that one up.
Oh boy,
well,
what happened?
I was gonna actually ask why it changed names.
Megan's actually in the other room. She could probably give you a better. I think it was just Atrium bought them out. I don't know if you heard her, but Atrium bought them out, bought out Baptist, which is actually more news if y'all don't know. Hugh Chatham, it's a private hospital that my wife also used to work for. They have merged with Hugh Chatham also.
So it's like a nonprofit?
They're not a nonprofit, are they, Megan?
Probably not.
Yeah. Well, they're making profit, but they're not nonprofit.
It's a conglomerate. I'm pretty sure we have them here in Michigan too.
Yeah.
They're Corewell.
But they're they're the Brenner Children's is the major hospital alongside of UNC Chapel Hill. They've got a pretty well-renowned children's hospital, especially in cancer care. But and I brought up UNC Chapel Hill because they're actually the ones that rubber stamped all this collusion of injuries and fake genetic testing that they said they did, which they really didn't do. They kind of just rubber stamped along the process. They rubber stamped what Atrium was saying to try to cover their tracks. Yeah.
Gina, I think you're muted.
Yeah.
I knew I wasn't muted.
I'm gonna learn to read some lips tonight.
I don't know.
I can't
tell what he's saying. I really can't tell what he's saying.
Sorry. No, what I was saying is they pin this label of abuser on you, steal your daughter from you. And this is a recurring theme on this show. It seems like this happens a lot in the medical community across this nation of ours. It needs to stop. Obviously, they call it medical kidnapping, but it's just stealing, in my opinion. They're stealing children and then using it to gain federal money. So let's go forward. Okay, so they claim you did this. You stuck your finger in her throat and caused this issue and all these other things. She's got fragile bones and all this, right? This could have been easily diagnosed with another day or two of tests, but instead they rushed judgment.
A matter of, they were already testing. I don't have any notes in front of me. Like I said, we just got home from church, but they just simple anatomy, simple science. You have more than 3 genes in your genetic genome and DNA. There's more than 3 genes, and that's all they tested for. At the time, we were looking into brittle bone disease because it fit all of the symptoms. But kind of skipping forward a little bit, there's a bigger picture. There's actually a genetic disorder that covers a lot more bases, not only for my family and their issues that we've been having, but it's called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It's a genetic connective tissue disorder, and there's actually a couple other families. There we go. There's a couple other families that have been going through the very exact same script, and I'm calling it a script because these CAPs, childhood abuse pediatricians that these children's hospitals have, CAPs, they literally have a playbook that they go by. And that playbook, is just a simple script of the Tim's family, that same exact thing, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Very similar injuries to these children that they're using as abuse, but it's connective tissue disorder that affects literally everything in your body. It can be anything from a blood disorder, plasma, connective tissue. It can be a swallowing disorder. It can be fragile bones. It can be arthritis when you get older, if you haven't realized it. I bring that up because me and my wife actually got diagnosed about 6 months ago with Ehlers-Danlos due to some symptoms. And my mom got diagnosed because of some similar symptoms. And then 2 weeks ago, we actually got our son tested, Mason. He's 2, and he has Ehlers-Danlos.
So a simple test, genetic test, would have solved this mystery.
Simple genetic test of all the genes, and the excuse of the court system, time and time again, not just in our case, has been, oh, that's too expensive. Let's just go with the assault. Let's just go with the abuse charge. That costs too much. Well, the treatment. Oh, not the treatment, excuse me. The test is actually free in most cases because there's a lot of research hospitals that want to get their hands on this DNA to do research on. Not just Ehlers-Danlos, but EDS is one of the biggest ones because it's a very big umbrella of the connective tissue disorders. But brittle bone disease is the one that we kind of focused on with Lexi because of the fractures, her fragility of her bones. Just the simple handling is what the doctor that we used as an expert said. Just the simple common handling of any parent could have caused those injuries.
So is it your belief or your opinion that they went with this specific disease because it is kind of rare? Most people have never heard of it. And it's something that they probably thought, oh, we could disguise this and make a whole bunch of money and no one would ever know. I mean, and plus they didn't really give you any results. I mean, they were just manufactured results. Mm-hmm. Is that kind of where
that kind of sounds like COVID?
Hey.
No, but they manufactured to the point where they tried to cover so much that and I mentioned this to you, Gina, a couple of weeks ago when we were talking, they still have not been able to in the criminal discovery of the most recent charge, my last charge that was dismissed in Davie County. They still did not provide, and I say they, I mean Wilkes County. No one supplied a X-ray of my daughter's arm that had PPI on it, personal patient information. It was just this small little picture of a fractured arm which we've had one, if not two, I know one for sure, expert in orthopedics say that that was between a 4 and a 5-year-old male's arm of a
Whoa.
healing fracture. So they supply this false evidence in court, and no one challenges it. Actually, it was challenged by the current attorney we had, but the judge dismissed it, taking the expert's opinion and not our opinion, to do once again a second. They just don't like second opinions in any aspect. They don't want to be proved wrong. They don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to lose their money.
Well, a second opinion would in effect be oversight. We know they hate that word. Accountability, another one they can't stand.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. They use this stock generic photo they probably keep in their back pockets. They probably all got them in their wallets and purses, and they just whip it out. Oh, look at this. This poor child's arm's been broken by an abuser, by their father. Like, these people are sick. But anyway, oh, hey, dude.
Can you say hey? Look, they're waving. He's gonna be shy now.
That's awesome.
He's a cutie.
Yeah, he is.
And,
so okay, so Jared, I know we're not gonna think about the future yet, because I know you have some plans for a lot of these people to rectify some of this. But I do want to progress a little bit forward here. After you got the diagnosis and they accused you of abuser, I want people to understand what you as the father had to endure in your own mental capacity, your physical capacity, work, because I think a lot of people don't realize if your child's taken from you, that's your life. That is literally your lifeline. And now all of a sudden, you have to still make money and pay the bills. You have to maintain your health and your wife's health and also your son that was still living with you, right? You still have to maintain fatherhood. You don't just get to go lay and be depressed in a bed.
No.
So how did you deal with that? What was your process?
Well, going back to when just within that first year of her being taken, we didn't even have Mason yet. That was, honestly, looking back on it, that wasn't the hardest times, mentally, health, or anything. But the hardest time was after we had Mason, because they came after Mason also. And luckily, by the grace of God, they got caught up in their own lies, and the judge kicked the case. And we had similar worries when we I don't know if it's been announced yet, but we have our third. We have a month-old son now too. And so we were worried about him, and then just mentally as a father, being worried about not only your marriage, but just someone coming after your kids. I mean, these are supposed to be, let's just look from the outside in and what other people see. People hear CPS and they're like, oh, those are the people that go after child abusers. Those are the people that, are, trying to keep kids away from bad people. In reality, those are the people that you need to be scared about in today's day and time. It's not the actual abusers, because 90% of the time, those are false accusations. But back to the health, I've expressed this to you, Gino, and Sylvia. I was, not only me, my father also, as you've seen my father on here. We were at the point where we were ready to do some things that were not legal. We were very angry, and I wouldn't say suicidal, but there's a lot of mental stuff that goes on, not only as a father, but just as a man. I mean, you've got that masculinity that's being taken away from you. It was very hard on the marriage. Me and Megan had only been married a year and a half when we had Lexi. That put a huge strain on a young Christian's relationship, and I don't even know where to start. How the past 3 years have been. I I didn't see Lexi until about a year ago for the first time. And all said and done, I've seen Lexi 4 times in 3 years, over a span of 3 years, and all of that has been in less than a year. And then that was stripped away from me. So that was a mental struggle, all based on lies, of course. As I told you, they said that I threatened the therapist by telling him I was going to call my attorney because they missed a visit, and that's a threat. You can't even seek legal counsel without threatening somebody. And our visits just got started back up, and that's actually going tremendously well. For the first time, she came in the room without an issue, and that just broke my heart. She wanted to play games. She wanted to interact. And I think that's God just laying His hand on her heart, preparing her to come home, because so much has happened. So much has happened in the past month. I went from having 3 felony charges of abuse on my daughter to having 0, just because of lacking evidence. And the only reason that it went 3 years was because the DSS attorney in Wilkes drug her feet and didn't get the DA and Davy the information he needed in a timely manner, because he even said in the dismissal that he was just waiting on information. So I've sat here for 3 years, all because the judicial system doesn't know how to do their job.
Well, is it that they don't know how to do their job, or was it intentional?
Oh, of course it was intentional, but they're going to say that, I think the excuse that was given was, I ordered a DVD, CD writing to send you a CD, and it got stuck in China. I mean, that's literally what she said in court. And so I've been waiting on that CD drive. I was like, well, we live in it's called a thumb drive, you stick it in your computer and you save whatever you need to save. Fax machines are still around. Anyway, I'm getting a little too cocky.
I sense some sarcasm.
Yeah. But no, health-wise, I've been, I've had my ups and my downs, mentally and health. My main goal as a father, that I realized about a year and a half ago, is that I needed to stop focusing. I needed to stop focusing so much on getting Lexi home, as much as God blessed me with a son, now 2 sons. I have a loving wife, and I've got to focus on that family, so that when she does come home, there's a family to come home to.
Well said. Yeah, that bonding part is another aspect that I don't think many people think about when your child's taken from you, especially at such a young age. She wasn't even in the developmental part of her growth yet. And then to reestablish that relationship, that's going to take time. Of course it will. It's going to take her trusting you, trusting Megan, trusting you guys as parents, right? And then her just feeling comfortable in a safe space. I don't know her other, I know that she was with your sister-in-law and brother-in-law, but whether that was a safe space or not, I'm not going to judge those people. I wasn't there, but there's no place like home.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard, y'all heard Megan in the background. Yeah, the sister-in-law thing. To be completely honest on that, she might as well be in foster care. And I'm sure Sylvia just cringed, but she's not with family. It's not kinship care. By blood, maybe half blood, from Megan's mother, from a different man, but that's not blood. They hate my family, so it's not a good situation with that. And honestly, we love them. We pray for them. We prayed for them tonight at church by name, that they would come to their senses, but they're evil people trying to manipulate a young, innocent heart away from her father.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. This is pretty common. I want to get Sylvia and KK's opinion on this. We've had lots of shows where it does seem like a family member or a friend or a neighbor made a phone call, made a claim, maybe set things in motion to steal a child. I mean, I don't know another way to say it. It's if I was at a mall and I grab a child and run off with that child, it's not my child. That's kidnapping. And this is what we have time and time again with these people. It's kidnapping. And I don't understand why it's so hard to understand. This is in plain sight. KK, how about you? I mean, have we talked about this before?
Yes, we have. We've talked about this numerous of times. People just taking children just because, or just for money, or for, I guess, to pretend to have a family that they don't love.
That's a good one. Sylvia?
Well, the pattern I've seen is that they always place them with a family or a distant relative that hates the family. And that is how they manipulate the child. It's called parental alienation, is what they're doing. Only CPS does it. So, like, literally, I think there was a case recently where a mother finally got charged for parental alienation because they use the term a lot, but nobody's ever charged because it is really brainwashing the child into thinking a certain way about a parent. Um, and it's literally like breaking that bond. And it's really hard to, like, there's so much therapy and stuff that happens after that in order to get that back. But I do think there should be charges for people that do that, because it's so it just destroys a family, like mentally, physically, spiritually, on all levels, it destroys. So, maybe maybe that's what we do. Maybe we start going after these people for parental alienation and start charging them. They want to say immunity, but they do have a pattern and it's a script, and so that's kind of what I've noticed, is that they use the same thing over and over.
Yeah, don't get me started on the immunity. If you commit a
Mhm.
crime, how can there be immunity?
I was just getting ready to jump on that with what Gino kind of briefly mentioned with what is our family going to do after Lexi comes home, and that's all we've heard from people we're talking about. Well, they have immunity. They have immunity, and you know,
Is it, this is the thing with the immunity. If it's an ongoing, I mean, I know it's under the guise of law. Again, I keep using these air quotes tonight, but um, if it's an ongoing conspiracy, it's still a crime. It's fraud. So I believe that there's three amendments that would cover this. I believe it's the first, fourth, and 14, if I'm getting that correct.
You
Where
got to
this
get them to recognize the Constitution.
that's the problem. But see, it won't happen. We all know it. We know it's not going to happen in the family court, but it can when we start climbing the justice ladder here.
Yeah.
So that does seem to be where a lot of these cases have been won. You mentioned the Tims and Hernandez. It had to get to another level finally
Yeah.
for these people to get their children back. Now, thank God you're going to get your daughter back before it gets there, but there has to be punishment for these people. They committed crimes.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I don't want to. That's for a later date. That's going to be a follow up show at some point, I imagine.
Yeah.
But Jared, let's talk about the hope you have right now. Like, where's Lexi, and what's like the time frame of getting Lexi home?
and that's where we've been the last I'll say 3 years, but that's where we've been the last 2 years. What is the timeline, Gino? With everybody passes the baton off to the next person when there's something actually that's good that happened. We not not being ungrateful whatsoever when I say this, but we got our what we thought was going to be the big win with the dismissal. 2 weeks ago. That was just a big hurdle. Now we've got to go back with this motion. We've got to go back to DSS. We've got to go back to fighting against the guardianship that's been granted to kinship care, and the only way that really gets around that point blank that will bring Lexi home sooner than later is the secondary process. There's all these processes you have to do. This is an appeal against guardianship, and that has to go to Raleigh, and we've been in the middle of that appeal process. And then the GAL. Let's not even get started on the guardian ad litem, the child's voice. The guardian ad litem in the Department of Social Services has decided to try to get that appeal that we've put in dismissed. And it's just it's ringing around the rosy. And so right now we're just kind of waiting to see. Well, honestly, we're just waiting on a hearing date is what we're doing.
Jared, you mentioned ring around the rosy. Doesn't that end in ashes? Ashes, they all fall down.
I would, yes. Thank you. You stole the punchline. I think it is definitely a big hurdle. Lexi, hopefully with this at a minimum, as me and you talked kind of privately, Megan for the past 2.5 years has gotten to see Lexi. Everybody actually, except for me, has gotten to see Lexi every other weekend, Saturdays and Sundays. She gets, unsupervised visits. And I've been, beckoned by the court to stay away 1,500 feet. So hopefully with this dismissal, I have nothing on my slate anymore that they can use it as an excuse. I can at least be granted the same visitation rights and start that bonding process, which will hopefully take a niche out of the alienation. But I'm sure there will be more tries against me. There's just, in this case, it's not just a matter of a DSS case. It comes down to, it runs deeper, and the people that she's been placed with also have ties in the government. We're talking about police, the sore subject of some people. Tell you what, I'll say it to the camera and everybody in public. I back the blue, but I do not support a single North Wilkesboro or Wilkesboro police officer. They are in a corrupt department, and they need to be shut down and investigated because that is a corrupt town. And I think actually I was speaking to bringing up "You Are the Power." I was speaking to Gretchen. We kind of made a joke about. We didn't really think about it. Wilkes's motto when you come into Wilkesboro, North Carolina, is the great state of Wilkes. They think they're a state. They think they govern themselves. They think they govern themselves. And so, it's not just our town, or I should say our town. We don't live there anymore. It's not just Wilkes. I'm sure that, but it's just that the pride that they have to even put that as you come across the county line is just crazy to me.
Well, you said you back the blue. I support law and order, and I support those that defend law and order and defend our Constitution. If you are anything other than that, you're committing treason, crimes. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of, we can't, I think it's easy to paint with a broad brush sometimes and just say, oh, all police are good. There's bad people in every profession. I don't care what the profession is. So it's not like everybody just gets a free pass because they're wearing that badge. These people have perpetrated crimes against you intentionally. And I don't know, there has to be repercussions. Something has to happen to evildoers. Otherwise, it just continues, and they're going to do it to other families. I'm sure they already are. And, I want to touch on something too. And Sylvia, this is going to require your thoughts on this. So kinship laws. I believe in most states there's kinship laws. So if your child's taken it's supposed to go to someone, next of kin, like maybe grandma, grandpa, maybe an aunt or an uncle, maybe a brother or sister. So in this case, they did the kinship thing. There's the quotes again. How ironic that usually that doesn't happen. They ignore that law and they don't give it to somebody that's kinship. And what do? They give it to a foster parent that has no relationship to the child, and then that child gets lost in a system. In this case, they actually did it, but they're an estranged kinship. So it's essentially not really kinship in this either, even though that's under the guise of being next to kin. So, Sylvia, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's basically like they pick and choose what they want to do because he had family, am I not right? That was closer, that had a good relationship with you, that could have kept that bond with you. And they
Absolutely.
made sure not to place it with that
Yep.
family.
And they used so obviously my mom and my dad were more than happy to have taken that kinship care, but right there around the adjudication and all that, they were booted out of even contention because my mom still wasn't, had that misdemeanor that they pinned on my mom, with the Davie County thing. That my mom had a misdemeanor. My mom
Right.
never had a speeding ticket in her life. They accused of not watching us completely, but anyway,
And a
yeah.
misdemeanor is nothing. That's usually like a fine and like that's it. But that's what I mean is they pick and they choose. I even know some families where it's a friend, it's not even family or distant, but they decide, oh, this is kinship. Like they pick and choose when they want to use it, how they want to use it. And it's basically to twist and manipulate people into saying, oh, well, they are doing kinship, right? But yeah, there's no rhyme or reason other than this is what we want to do, and that's it.
I don't know if y'all can see that.
Wow.
Yep, I can see it.
The great
Yeah.
state of Wilkes.
That's insane. I don't think I've ever seen that. Is that new or has it always been like that?
I saw it for the 5 years that we lived there. Every time we would come across the county line.
Wow.
I
That's
don't even
that good old
understand
boy
that.
system, huh?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yep.
Man, that is crazy. That's worth some investigating. Got me on that one. Okay, so our good friend Joyful Junes in the chat said, "Good point, Sylvia. The mental trauma of separating children from their parents is the real abuse going on." Yes, that is awful what they're doing. The mental side of this is so devastating. I mean, I can't even imagine the pain of separation like that. And yet, thousands of parents every year are going through this. And they have to figure out how they're going to pay for lawyers, and then the lawyers scam them, stealing money from them, working for the other side, even though they claim to be on your team. There's just a pattern. There's this pattern of continuous criminal activity. It's a racket. The whole thing is a racket. And I don't know the answer. What's that?
Title IV funds.
Title IV is
Yep.
definitely the biggest part of this. There's an incentivization to take children. So they're commodities. That's what Nancy Schaefer said. She said they're basically canned goods being passed around. The protected empire. Man, I love that term. Nancy, God bless her.
Yep.
Okay, so Jared, I mean, all this is heading in the right direction. Thank God. I mean, when you gave me that phone call a couple weeks ago before I went down to Georgia, I literally broke out in tears because we don't get many of those phone calls where
Absolutely.
it looks like things are actually headed in the right direction. Most of them are just more bad news upon more bad news. So once that first domino goes, it just seems like they're all following suit. But in your case, it's been a long, hard fight. Your dad and mom have just like literally poured their life into their granddaughter and returning her to their rightful parents. So God bless your father, Larry, and your mom for doing what they did. I think there's this innate thing inside of us as human beings that when the vulnerable are being taken advantage of, we rise up, especially if you're a believer. If you're a believer in Jesus Christ, we are called to do that very thing. We are supposed to look evil in the face and demand that it stop. And if it doesn't, we confront evil with whatever means is necessary biblically. I'm not saying we do anything illegal. So I think we've seen that in your family. Your dad's so well spoken. I love when he comes on and he's your dad should be a lawyer, man. He's so good. He's so smart and just articulate with his words and how he can express his feelings and what's actually going on. And I know he's joined forces with You Are the Power and doing good work there in North Carolina. There he is. Oh man, awesome picture. So, yeah, good man. And your poor mom. I mean, to throw a misdemeanor on her. I mean, literally, it's a slap on the wrist, and you're going to say, "Oh, she's not worthy of taking care of her granddaughter." Give me a break. Sad.
Eddie.
Yeah. So, okay, Jared. Anything else you want to say? I know this is kind of a shortened version tonight, but
Yeah,
we
it was just
wanted you to get your
kind
story
of a
out.
catch up. I just wanted to kind of give y'all an update, get everybody that's listening an update that tunes in. I've kind of been on the hush hush for a little bit, just because we've been trying to get this last hurdle. And as I told Gino, whenever y'all want to include me back in, I'm definitely gonna be jumping on a whole lot more stuff, being a whole lot more active. As I told my dad the day that this dismissal came through. Actually, it came through as a deferment to dismiss. If you're familiar with how that works, I started gathering
a deferment to dismiss? I don't
a
think I've ever heard of
deferment
that.
to dismiss.
What's
So
that?
the ADA in Davie County made a deferment, which means based on the last 3 years of pain and suffering, and me doing everything, all these hoops, as you would call it, all these hoops that we had to jump through, me and Megan, 48 parent classes, multiple psychological and physicals and psychological testing and MIMS studies and, just all the stuff that we had to do that DSS made us jump through. Basically, that was deferment. That was used as time served. And so that was deferred to dismiss because of time served. And that was transferred, to a dismissal. And now, hopefully here soon, we've got to wait a little bit because there's a little bit more in the mix before we get that totally expunged. But that's going to be completely gone.
There's a certain acronym that comes to mind when you said all that, this deferring nonsense. And I would say CYA. That's what it really seems like to me. Nonsense. I mean, give me a break.
Nonsense. Yep.
Time served. Time served when you didn't commit a crime.
It's a way to the way to cover up the nonsense for sure.
Mm-hmm. Can I make an observation?
Yeah.
So they literally take children from their homes and place them in foster care without a transition at all with strangers. But when they reunite, they do this, what they call a transition. And like, what is the purpose of that? Because you're literally traumatizing a child by taking them from their home, from their support, from their school, from like their whole system, and you're throwing them in a stranger's house, which is complete trauma, which is complete, I mean, like, it doesn't even make sense. But they do this with hearsay. But when they go to reunite, you're looking at how long has it been since you started the visits, and it's now you're like fighting
I
it.
started visits February, Megan. Yeah, last February.
Last February, so
Yeah,
over
like
a
as in
year.
no, like as in February.
This February of
This February, yes.
2025.
And then that would be the 4 times in 3 years that I've seen her. Yeah.
See, that's what, see how they slow walk it? You know, like, it's crazy to me, like, how there's everything is so backwards. Wouldn't you transition a child into foster care with strangers instead of, like, wouldn't it be backwards, the other way? But I don't know. My mind is always looking at things that are, like, so backwards and so traumatizing to a child. But yeah, I just had to throw that out there.
So Gino, I don't know how much time we have. I've
Yeah,
got
go
one
ahead.
more. I've got one more story that I want to share that you haven't heard yet, Gino. I don't think. Um, I'm gonna try to make this quick, but me and Megan just started. Well, we started attending our new church about 6 months ago, and we joined about a month ago. But I got on, my background, my degree is in recreation management. And so at the church, our playground's a little bit dilapidated. There's a point to this story, I promise. It just shows the grace of God and how he opens doors. I got put on the playground committee to start doing some research with my background. I'm young, I'm a kid at heart, to basically renovate the playground at our church. And through that, I'm gonna try not to get emotional because this is just crazy right here, Gino. Through that, I had the opportunity. Let's kind of back up a little bit in my story. When all this began, Lexi went to stay with um, a foster care, right? A foster family for 2 or 3 weeks. And that foster family happened to be a youth pastor locally in North Carolina. I never had met them, obviously, because I was not even supposed to be near Lexi. Megan had met them once or twice for visits, but Lexi was only with them for 3 weeks. But just that impact on her life, being in church, you can still tell today that she was there, even when she was younger. But the point I'm getting to is I got sent to the very church that this man works at, not even knowing it. And we didn't know each other. We just started talking. And then Megan made the comment when we pulled in the church parking lot, this church looks very familiar. And something just, when God's spirits of brothers and sisters talk, they talk. And I went back in there and I kind of introduced myself. I said, "Hey, I'm Jared. I'm Lexi's father." And he just ghost white. And we sat there and we talked for almost an hour, a little bit over an hour. Megan even texted me. She said, "Did they call the sheriff's department on you?" Because I was in there talking to this gentleman for so long. But it was just, God works in the weirdest ways. Like, I never was going to meet this man, and I had the blessing of hearing on his side. And this is what'll anger you right here. He told me the lies that he was told by our social worker, Sylvia. DSS and our social worker told this man that Megan, and she's sitting here, she's been listening, told this man that my wife and my daughter had been looking for a way out of our marriage because it was abusive, and I had abused Megan. And just lie after lie they told this pastor of this church. And he said, "I finally got to hear the other side of this story." And it's amazing how the truth is right, because their lies made no sense. Why? We have been thinking about it for the past 3 years. How and why this woman would stay with an abusive man. And he's like, and now we have clarity of why.
Wow. See the lies that they tell? Like, that's the part that is because they literally just make it up. That's the part that I don't really understand, how somebody can make up such lies about somebody, because they know what they're doing. They're doing it on purpose, and they actually enjoy doing that, which is really sick. And it's really sad because they have to be a really miserable person to be like that. Because if you're a happy person, you're not going to wish bad things on other people, right? You're going to want good for them. So it just shows her character and who she really is. And I would file a complaint.
Oh, there's more than complaints coming.
Yeah, I would definitely go after
I,
her.
I think what's happening
Slander.
here.
That's
Well, I mean,
slander.
we kind of get back to that subject, and I've mentioned it on here multiple times. You know, that this caseworker requested our case because they knew.
Did y'all know her personally?
We did not, but she knew. She knows the
Oh,
case
she knew the
there.
police officer?
She knew the police officer and my wife. Yep, she knew. Yep.
Oh, that's conspiracy.
Sounds like collusion. I
Well,
think
I
what's
I've
going on
mentioned on
here.
here too. I've mentioned on here also that it, you know, and it was mentioned in court, and no one did anything about it. How this caseworker would come over to their house and give their children and my child gifts, and then it was just
that's
very
grooming.
inappropriate. Yeah, very yes, grooming and very inappropriate.
Mhm.
So
Well,
Wow.
it
I think
appears
we've
that God
listed a
is
whole bunch.
I
Yeah,
will.
we've listed grooming, slander, conspiracy.
the whole list.
Yeah. Sorry.
Looks
Go
like
ahead, Kate.
God's. Oh, sorry, KK. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to add to what you were saying that like this is what they literally train the foster parents to do, to lie, to hate the biological parents. And I mean, I've seen that when I was in the foster care system, living in the homes, and then even outside of the home, like after I got out of foster care, I mean, I still had in a way a relationship, but I wasn't like super close to my foster parent. But just seeing the side of it, even after being out of it, just like they literally make you hate the biological family. And the foster parent is always the one talking about it, but it's because these case managers are feeding these lies. And also, it goes back to what they add in the notebook of what they write about that child. So, really, when you meet that child, you're already having a brief summary of what this child actually is when that's really not the truth.
Yep, that's for sure. It does seem like God's putting a witness list together for you, Jared.
and a new testimony for sure.
Yes.
The last 3 years, and even after this is not, you know, this is over. This is definitely a godsend testimony that He has placed on my life. And like I told you, Gina, that I started to realize. I wouldn't call it joy that I've been put through, but it definitely has opened my eyes to how God can bless even in the hard times.
Yeah, I don't think
Um,
we can ever fully understand why He allows these things to happen. That's the one question I've had for Him probably 1,000 times. He's probably sick of hearing me say it. But I just know He knows the end from the beginning, and I don't. And so we have to trust Him in the process. And I know that it's not an answer that most parents would want to hear, especially if they're going through this. But those of us that believe and have been through the trials of life, we understand that at a different level. Um, I don't like it. I wish it was different, but it's that ripple effect, right? That butterfly effect. I mean, we don't know how this thing plays out 100 years from now, 10 years from now. So I've been praying for you guys ever since the beginning. From the first time we met you guys, I just knew that one day that the day would come when she would be back home. You know, the other thing we failed to mention was you're a fit father of, you were a fit father of one son, now two more. It's amazing that you weren't fit for your daughter. That's the other thing I wanted to add to this nonsense.
Aw.
that's the first time she met her baby brother last weekend, 2 weekends ago.
Aw. That's
Precious.
really cool.
Right.
Yeah, you know, it just you know, we had one you know, and through this whole process, ever since Mason's been born, I've become a stay-at-home father. We didn't really touch on that, but I've been home. I was forced, as I would call it in the beginning. I was forced out of 3 jobs due to the lies of DSS and Wilkes County and court system. 3 good jobs. And then I realized the blessing God had put in front of me was to train my children up in the way that they should go and stay home and be a father. And that's what he's called me to do. Now we just got to get Lexi home.
Yep.
I don't know if Megan, my other half, I don't know if she wants to say anything or if y'all have any questions for her from her female point of view. But
Yeah,
we would love to hear from her.
She's over here getting food ready for the newborn, but
Hey.
Hi, Megan.
Would you like to share anything?
Basically, we're just waiting for Lexi's arrival home and trying to get her room ready. It's kind of getting everything all together of how it's going to be like when we have 3 kids at home instead of just 2. It's always a blessing to see her and get to interact with her on the times that we do get to see her. And especially those times with Jared, I always want his visits to go well. I'd rather his visits go well than my visits go well. That means more to me than mine going well. So this is a crazy story, and you tell it to somebody and they're like, this is crazy. How can you have 2 healthy kids in your home and not have your daughter? So hopefully we can get her home soon and we'll have a big happy family after that.
Yep.
Right. Megan, how has this affected you as an RN, being in hospitals and seeing kids come in and they were just treated like they should have been, as opposed to what happened to you guys? How did that change your whole view of the medical system in general?
The medical system is definitely corrupt. It definitely is broken. I hate to say that because I work in it. I see it from the standpoint of people coming in having a baby because I'm in labor and delivery. So I see people that are on drugs, already have people in the system, like kids in the system that, they can't care for kids. They have multiple children that are just running around acting, quote unquote crazy. And, they get to go home with their babies, and that it blows my mind to see that happening, especially whenever the heartache that we've gone through with just knowing that we took her to the hospital for initial getting checked out and we're struggling.
That was the one aspect of your story that always kind of like got me, because you being an RN, understanding how working with babies every day, for it to happen to you and them to really have the gall to not even care about your professional opinions, that just shows you how broken the system really is.
It sure does.
Doing it to one of their own, like that's just mind-boggling.
I mean,
It's inverted.
It always scared me, if I had wanted to change jobs or go somewhere else, and because at the beginning of all this, there was a lot of court dates, a lot of times that I had to have off, like on, minutes notice, essentially. And so it was very hard for me to make sure that people understood the story and understood, hey, this is a very corrupt system. We need to, you're going to have to give me a little bit of grace period to go through that.
Right. Well, God bless you both. I'm just very thankful that looks like prayers are being answered, and Lexi should be home soon, right where she belongs. Jared, Megan, thank you guys so much. Any last words?
Just keep us in your prayers, and we'll keep you updated. KK, Gino, Sylvia, thank you for having us on once again. And I'm going to go ahead and, as you were, Gino, with the title Reunited Father, I'm going to go ahead and say that the next time that I'm on here, there's going to be 3 or 4 year olds sitting between us.
We agree with that.
Claim it.
Continued prayers. It's going to happen. I can't wait for that show. That's going to be a great show. God bless you both.
That confetti thing.
Yeah.
Confetti thing. Yeah, we'll have to do it on. We'll have to do a digital confetti.
Yeah.
I think
Yep,
Zoom
yep.
has that actually, that capability.
Yeah.
So we'll have to figure it out. All right, guys, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us on Rumble, Foxhole, and X. I'm not sure if John was streaming. I don't know if he had the wrong time, but
I
I don't
have
see us over there on X.
I wanted
I'm
to
not
say
sure what
one
happened
more
there.
thing.
Okay.
I just wanted to leave you with this scripture, which you already know because you already said it. But Revelations 12:11, and they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they did not love their lives to the death.
Good word.
I love that, KK.
All right. Have a blessed night, everybody. Take care. Keep praying for the Basses that Lexi will be home soon. God bless.
Insecure and left alone to defend for ourselves. We are praying to the Lord for when this nightmare is going to end. How many more sleepless nights? How much more pain and tears do we have to endure? When can I see my family or someone who cares for me? Are we not good enough? Or are we just some test rats that have to follow orders? Are we just worth $1? Or are we actually being taken care of? Our hearts are burning in pain, and tears keep falling from our cheeks. Tired of crying and having our emotions in cycles. Our voices are being empowered by the ones who have more authority than us. However, today is the day it ends. No more feeling ashamed and leaving abandoned. We are standing up tall and raising our voices high. We are a child of God, and our work has just begun. God thinks we are worth enough and worth fighting for. God has our back and no need to fear. If God is for us, who can be against us? Romans 8:31. Not one more child is going to be left alone and abandoned. Thank you, Jesus, for all you have done for us, and all glory goes to you. In Jesus' name, amen.